What if everything you've been taught about money is backwards? Financial security isn't shallow, it's the key to freedom, choices, and a life you actually control. Money is far more than a medium of exchange or a way to acquire material possessions. Its true value lies in the freedom and control it can provide over one's life. Many people mistakenly believe that money is inherently bad or that pursuing financial security is shallow. But the reality is that money is a tool that enables people to make choices, reduce stress, and focus on what truly matters. Without money, everyday life becomes a constant struggle. Decisions that seem simple when you have financial security, such as taking a job you enjoy, spending time with loved ones, helping a friend in need, or pursuing an education, can become impossible or stressful when money is tight. Financial scarcity limits the options available to a person, forcing them to prioritize survival over growth, experiences, or personal fulfillment. When money is insufficient, every decision is filtered through the lens of cost, and this has a profound psychological effect. Simple choices like buying groceries, paying bills, or taking a necessary trip can become sources of anxiety. People living paycheck to paycheck experience a constant underlying tension because their decisions carry immediate consequences. This pressure affects not only what they can do, but also how they feel about themselves and the world around them. The constant mental load of financial stress is exhausting and can even lead to poor decision-making. This is not a reflection of personal failure or character flaws, but a direct result of being constrained by limited resources. Financial constraints shape the way people live, often dictating where they work, how they live, and what risks they can afford to take. In contrast, having sufficient money creates flexibility. When people have financial security, they are able to make decisions based on values, priorities, and opportunities rather than fear and necessity. Money allows them to take risks, pursue passions, and make choices that align with their long-term goals instead of merely reacting to immediate needs. For example, someone with savings or passive income can start a business, take an educational opportunity, or move for a better job without risking basic survival. They can help friends or family in need without jeopardizing their own stability. And they can invest in experiences that enrich their lives rather than just paying bills. The ability to say no to opportunities that do not align with one's values, and to say yes to the things that matter, is one of the greatest benefits of financial security. This freedom changes the way people interact with the world. It allows them to approach life proactively rather than defensively. People who are financially secure are not controlled by circumstances in the same way as those struggling to make ends meet. They can plan for the future, pursue long-term goals, and make choices with confidence. This freedom also extends to mental and emotional well-being. Chronic financial stress releases stress hormones that impair decision-making, affect relationships, and harm health. Having sufficient money reduces these stressors, allowing a person to think clearly, maintain healthier relationships, and focus on personal development. The psychological benefits of financial security are profound, giving people peace of mind and confidence in their ability to handle challenges. Money, when understood as a tool rather than an end goal, shifts from being a source of stress to a source of empowerment. It is not about accumulating wealth to show off or to impress others, but about creating options that allow a person to live intentionally. True financial freedom means that money does not control the individual, but instead enables them to design a life aligned with their priorities. The ability to act from choice rather than necessity, to pursue opportunities without fear of catastrophic consequences, and to help others without sacrificing one's own stability is the real power that money provides. Understanding this fundamentally changes how people approach work, relationships, and long-term planning. Financial security is not a luxury. It is a foundation for freedom, for the ability to make meaningful decisions, and for living a life that reflects one's values and desires. Those who recognize money as a tool for empowerment understand that wealth is not about appearances or consumption, but about freedom, control, and the ability to create a life that matters. Financial stress is one of the most pervasive and destructive forces in modern life, affecting nearly every aspect of a person's well-being. Studies show that a significant majority of adults experience ongoing worry about money. And this stress is not just an emotional burden, it has tangible effects on physical health, mental clarity, and the ability to make rational decisions. When money is scarce, it acts as a constant filter through which every life decision is weighed. From everyday choices like what groceries to buy, to major life decisions such as career moves, education, or starting a family, the limitations imposed by financial scarcity dictate behavior in ways that are often invisible to others. Unlike people with financial security, those living paycheck to paycheck cannot approach opportunities freely. Each decision is constrained by necessity, and this produces a psychological load that affects cognition, emotional regulation, and long-term planning. People experiencing financial stress often operate in survival mode, prioritizing immediate needs over strategic, long-term goals. This can lead to behaviors that appear irrational from the outside, such as taking high-interest loans, delaying investments, or making impulsive purchases. These choices are not due to laziness or a lack of intelligence. They are the natural consequence of being trapped in a system where resources are limited and every choice carries weighty implications. Beyond the individual level, financial stress profoundly impacts relationships. Money problems are the leading cause of conflict in romantic partnerships, with disputes often arising not from greed or irresponsibility, but from differing values, fears, and priorities under constrained circumstances. One partner may prioritize saving for security, while the other may see opportunities for investment or growth that feel risky when resources are tight. These conflicts are exacerbated when neither party has financial breathing room, leading to tension, resentment, and, in many cases, the breakdown of relationships. The absence of financial security limits the ability to act with generosity, whether toward friends, family, or causes one cares about, because there is little flexibility to absorb risk or provide support without jeopardizing one's own stability. This lack of options can create feelings of guilt and frustration, further compounding the stress and emotional strain. Financial insecurity also affects time allocation and personal freedom. Most adults trade the majority of their waking hours for money, often spending more than one-third of their lives working in jobs that may provide no intrinsic satisfaction. The combination of work, commuting, preparation, and recovery consumes time that could otherwise be devoted to personal development, relationships, or leisure. For those living under financial pressure, this trade-off is not optional, it is a necessity. The work becomes a survival mechanism rather than a source of fulfillment. And the lack of flexibility limits the ability to pursue opportunities that might improve long-term circumstances. Money, when understood as a tool, provides more than material comfort. It creates choice. Financial security allows individuals to make decisions based on values, purpose, and strategic goals rather than immediate constraints. It enables them to take calculated risks, invest in personal growth, and focus on long-term opportunities without the constant anxiety that scarcity imposes. This freedom transforms decision-making, emotional well-being, and the capacity to engage meaningfully with life. The psychological impact of financial security is profound. It reduces chronic stress, allows the brain to function optimally, and supports better judgment, emotional regulation, and strategic thinking. People with money can approach problems with clarity rather than fear, see opportunities instead of threats, and make choices that enhance both their present circumstances and future potential. Understanding money as a tool rather than a source of shame or greed is critical. It is not about conspicuous consumption or accumulating wealth for status, but about creating flexibility, safety, and freedom, the ability to navigate life with options, to respond to challenges proactively rather than reactively, and to support oneself and others without compromising stability is the real value of financial security. By reframing money as a resource for freedom rather than a source of stress, individuals can move beyond the hamster wheel of survival, making decisions that align with long-term goals and personal values. Financial education and awareness empower people to leverage money to improve life outcomes, health, relationships, and personal development. It is this understanding, not mere income or spending, that transforms financial stress into a pathway for opportunity, independence, and meaningful living. Financial security is fundamentally about choice, and the power that comes with having options cannot be overstated. When someone has enough money to cover their basic needs, invest in their future, and absorb unexpected expenses, every decision they make comes from a position of strength rather than desperation. This ability to choose shapes the quality of life in ways that go far beyond material comfort. Money buys flexibility, allowing people to leave jobs that make them miserable, take risks that have potential rewards, and support loved ones without putting themselves at risk. This flexibility extends into almost every domain of life, from career to relationships to personal growth. For example, a person with financial stability can accept a lower-paying job if it offers greater fulfillment, opportunity for learning, or alignment with personal values because they are not constrained by the need to meet every immediate expense. They can pursue entrepreneurial ventures knowing that a failed project will not lead to catastrophe. This is why financial security is often linked to innovation and creativity. Many of the most successful people were able to take calculated risks not because they were fearless, but because they had a safety net that allowed them to experiment without risking survival. Conversely, living paycheck to paycheck restricts decision-making to short-term necessities. Opportunities become impossibilities when every choice is evaluated through the lens of what one can afford. The inability to invest in oneself or to seize opportunities creates a cycle where potential remains unrealized, not for lack of talent or ambition, but because financial constraints limit actionable options. Relationships are deeply affected by financial circumstances as well. Having money removes the constant tension around basic needs and allows for healthier interactions. Couples with financial security are able to focus on shared goals and experiences rather than arguing over every dollar. Money affects how individuals can support each other in times of crisis, and the absence of financial flexibility can create guilt, resentment, and stress that erode the quality of those relationships. Parents, for instance, can spend more time with their children, provide better educational opportunities, and participate in meaningful experiences when they are not overwhelmed by financial strain. The presence of money also directly impacts mental and physical health. Chronic financial stress produces stress hormones like cortisol, which impair immune function, disrupt sleep, and reduce cognitive performance. The constant worry about making ends meet changes behavior, causing short-term thinking and reactive decision-making, which can perpetuate financial instability. Financial security, on the other hand, creates a sense of calm that allows for deliberate and strategic planning. This is why wealthy individuals often make better long-term decisions not because they are inherently smarter, but because their resources reduce the pressure that causes poor decision-making under stress. The psychological dimension of money is equally important. Financial freedom provides confidence, autonomy, and the ability to focus on personal goals rather than being forced to react to crises. It transforms the way people interact with the world, giving them agency to pursue opportunities that align with their values rather than being trapped in circumstances beyond their control. Wealth, in this sense, is not about extravagance. It is about empowerment, the ability to respond to challenges, help others, and make decisions without fear of immediate negative consequences changes the trajectory of life. People who understand money as a tool leverage it to create security, independence, and long-term growth. They prioritize saving, investing, and building assets that generate passive income, ensuring that money works for them rather than the other way around. This mindset distinguishes those who build lasting wealth from those who remain trapped in cycles of financial scarcity. Over time, the accumulation of financial resources compounds not just in monetary terms but in opportunities, experiences, and the capacity to shape life intentionally. Understanding that money buys choice, not just things, is essential for escaping financial stress, achieving personal goals, and living a life aligned with one's values. The decisions made when financial flexibility exists create freedom, security, and resilience, highlighting that money is not a superficial pursuit but a fundamental tool for navigating life effectively. Lifestyle inflation is one of the most subtle but destructive forces in personal finance, and it affects more people than most realize. It occurs when income increases, but spending rises proportionally or even disproportionately so that financial progress remains stagnant despite earning more money. This phenomenon can sneak up on anyone because it often feels justified. A raise at work can make a fancier apartment, a new car, or more frequent dining out feel reasonable, even necessary, and the pattern becomes almost automatic. Over time, lifestyle inflation can completely erase the advantages of higher earnings, keeping people trapped in a cycle where they are technically earning more but not building any meaningful wealth. One of the key reasons lifestyle inflation is so damaging is that it disguises the true state of financial health. While bank balances may show more money month to month, those extra dollars are simply absorbed by increased costs, leaving net worth largely unchanged. The psychological impact is significant as well. People may feel like they are progressing financially because their lifestyle appears better. But in reality, the underlying financial foundation, the savings, investments, and emergency funds is not growing at the pace it needs to for long-term security. This misalignment between perception and reality can lead to stress, anxiety, and a sense of being perpetually behind, even when incomes are rising. Avoiding lifestyle inflation requires conscious effort and a strategic approach to income growth. The first step is awareness. Understanding how additional income can subtly influence spending habits allows individuals to intervene before new expenses become ingrained. People often underestimate how quickly small changes in daily habits like eating out more often, upgrading subscriptions, or buying slightly more expensive items can compound over time. These small increases, repeated consistently, are where lifestyle inflation quietly erodes financial progress. Another critical aspect is separating wants from needs. When income rises, it is tempting to assume that every desire is reasonable. But evaluating which expenses truly contribute to long-term goals versus those that satisfy short-term impulses is crucial. This clarity helps maintain control over finances and prevents income from being swallowed by consumption. Discipline is essential, but it must be paired with intelligent allocation of resources. A powerful strategy is to automatically direct raises and bonuses into savings or investments rather than allowing them to increase spending. By making financial progress automatic, the individual prevents money from being spent impulsively while still enjoying the benefits of a modest lifestyle. This approach takes advantage of the compounding effect, where money invested today grows over time, creating a snowball of wealth that would be impossible if all extra income were absorbed into lifestyle upgrades. Furthermore, avoiding lifestyle inflation helps protect against unforeseen setbacks. Life is unpredictable, and having a buffer of savings and investments can make the difference between weathering a financial storm and being thrown into crisis. Individuals who have allowed their lifestyle to expand with income often find themselves vulnerable when unexpected expenses arise because their financial margin has been consumed by routine spending. The contrast between those who control lifestyle inflation and those who do not becomes stark over the years. Two people with identical starting salaries and identical raises can end up in completely different financial positions a decade later simply because one allowed spending to rise while the other maintained disciplined habits. This gap is magnified over time due to compound interest, meaning that early control over lifestyle inflation produces disproportionately large advantages in the long run. Another subtle consequence of lifestyle inflation is that it shifts focus from financial goals to the pursuit of status. When spending increases in tandem with income, it often reflects a desire to keep up with peers rather than achieve personal objectives. This can result in a constant chase for external validation rather than a steady accumulation of meaningful assets, which ultimately undermines both financial independence and personal satisfaction. Understanding lifestyle inflation in depth makes it clear that building wealth is not simply about earning more money. It is about managing behavior in relation to income. Avoiding the trap of rising expenses allows financial growth to compound, investments to accumulate, and future opportunities to remain accessible. The ability to maintain a consistent lifestyle while redirecting extra earnings into wealth-building activities is one of the most reliable predictors of long-term financial success. And it highlights that earning more does not automatically equate to getting ahead. Mastering this concept fundamentally shifts the trajectory of financial life, creating stability, freedom, and the ability to make meaningful choices for the future. The way people think about money is often shaped by misconceptions, cultural narratives, and personal experiences that distort reality. Many individuals are taught from a young age that money either doesn't matter or that it automatically brings happiness, neither of which is accurate. In truth, money is a tool that influences nearly every aspect of life, from relationships to health, opportunities, and mental well-being. Understanding its power and the consequences of financial insecurity is essential for living a life of freedom and choice. Financial stress is pervasive, affecting nearly 3 out of 4 adults, according to surveys conducted by the American Psychological Association. This stress doesn't just create short-term anxiety. It alters decision-making, mental clarity, and long-term planning. When someone lacks sufficient financial resources, almost every life choice becomes filtered through the lens of cost. Decisions about work, family, education, travel, healthcare, and social obligations are no longer made based on values or desires, but on what is affordable in the moment. The psychological burden of financial scarcity is enormous because it forces people to operate in a constant state of survival mode. Research shows that scarcity impacts cognitive function, making it more difficult to plan, save, or consider long-term consequences. The nervous system reacts to financial stress similarly to how it reacts to physical threats, increasing cortisol production, which affects sleep, immune function, and overall health. In relationships, financial insecurity is often at the root of conflict. Money arguments are rarely about dollars and cents. They are about fear, control, values, and the perceived inability to secure one's future. One partner may prioritize saving and security, while the other sees risk as opportunity, leading to tension that erodes trust and intimacy. Couples without financial breathing room struggle to negotiate these differences because every decision carries high stakes. Conversely, financial security allows people to make choices from a position of strength rather than necessity. Wealthy individuals understand that money is primarily about purchasing freedom and options, not about buying luxury items. This freedom allows them to leave jobs they dislike, help others without compromising their own stability, take calculated risks, and focus on what truly matters in life. The absence of money creates limitations that feel like moral or personal failure. But these limitations are often structural rather than character-based. People are not poor because they are lazy or unintelligent. They are constrained by resources that dictate what is feasible. The ability to build wealth and achieve financial stability creates a multiplier effect, improving health, relationships, career choices, and mental well-being. Passive income, investments, and emergency funds provide security that transforms the way a person interacts with the world. Financial literacy and deliberate action are critical in breaking cycles of scarcity. Understanding compound interest, the impact of inflation, strategic investing, and disciplined saving empowers individuals to shift from reactive survival to proactive planning. Each financial decision, no matter how small, becomes a step toward independence and flexibility. Building wealth is not about indulgence or accumulating status symbols. It is about eliminating unnecessary stressors, creating opportunities, and enabling personal growth. Even modest levels of financial security enough to cover basic needs and provide a margin of safety dramatically improve life satisfaction. Importantly, financial freedom also fosters generosity and contribution. People with resources can help friends, family, and communities without risking their own stability, creating ripple effects that extend far beyond personal gain. The paradox is that wanting financial freedom is often stigmatized, but it is precisely this desire that leads to empowerment, resilience, and the ability to pursue meaningful experiences. Ignoring money or pretending it is irrelevant is not enlightenment. It is self-deception that reinforces dependency and stress. In reality, money should be understood as a tool for living intentionally. Those who master their finances develop confidence, clarity, and autonomy. They are able to focus on relationships, personal growth, and life goals without the constant anxiety of scarcity dictating every decision. Wealth is not an end in itself, but a vehicle for a life lived on one's own terms, providing security, freedom, and the ability to respond to opportunities and challenges with calm, strategic decisions rather than fear. This understanding shifts the perspective on money from obsession or shame to empowerment, showing that caring about financial stability is not shallow but essential for a full and meaningful life.